Catching an opera in Vienna, visiting different museums in Paris, or watching a world-class soccer game in Madrid, Europe is a destination for different types of travelers. And apart from all that, there's one thing that's very popular there. It's called big game hunting.
You're absolutely right, Ron. In fact, many European countries promote the conservation of wildlife through sustainable hunting, and Portugal is one of them. Now, if you think Portugal as a coastal nation only produces seafood, then you might have to think again, because this beautiful country is also famous for its variety of games.
Portugal has a very old tradition with the hunting and the game meats, even more than 2,000 years ago. So it all began with the Roman Empire. The Romans start teaching the people how to hunt. So then the tradition was kept by the first kings of Portugal. They all loved hunting. It was traditional for the noble families and the rich families to gather in the weekends and go out to the woods and hunt. And they were meats that usually only for the nobles. So in Hong Kong, there was not many possibilities to have game meats. Especially Portuguese game meat, that was non-existent. I think it was a good opportunity for the Hong Kong people to try game meats for the first time, especially because they are so different. And the flavors are intense, but still elegant. And those ingredients are very, very difficult to reach in Hong Kong. So for that, I would like to bring the opportunity to Hong Kong people to try nice quality game meat coming from Portugal.
What makes Portuguese cuisine different is that the dishes are very family-oriented. Like the dish here, the fried potatoes and scrambled eggs is one of Fabio's favorite family dishes. He created a winter version of the traditional recipe by replacing the original salted cod with Portuguese red prawns and wild mushrooms. It is a hearty dish that you don't want to miss.
Wild boar is a tough meat with intense flavors. So for me, the best way to cook it is with leek, with some herbs. We put some spices like star anise, like cinnamon, some garlic. Then we pan-sear the wild boar in olive oil to get some color. And then we cook it together with the vegetables. In the end, we put some Portuguese port wine, and we let it cook very slowly for about 3 to 4 hours until the meat is tender. And like this, we're gonna have a meat with a strong gamey taste, but with a very soft texture. And we're gonna have a rich sauce based in the meat juices and the port wine that was reduced. So it's gonna be kind of sweet and spiced. And also, in the end, we always put some chestnuts. We let the chestnuts boil together with the sauce. And this is the traditional way we do it and we eat it in Portugal.
Especially designed to cater to the diners in Hong Kong, this Portuguese hunter duck rice is going to give you a whole new perspective on Portuguese cuisine.
That's right. Not only did the chef source the ingredients directly from Europe, he also cooked the duck breasts and the duck legs separately using different methods.
The leg meat is cooked with onions and port wine for half an hour before it is mixed into the rice, which was cooked with duck soup and then baked to perfection.
And to taste different parts of a duck, the chef also placed the crispy skinned duck breast on top of the rice, elevating the taste to the next level. When it comes to foie gras, we immediately think of it as a traditional French delicacy. However, this fattened duck liver is no stranger to the Portuguese chefs. To create this winter dish, Fabio first pan-seared the foie gras until perfection and then placed it on top of the silky smooth parmentier and half-boiled egg. Topped with the traditional Salera Perigord sauce, each bite has a rich, buttery flavor. Many people love Portugal for its beautiful sceneries, but I would say Portuguese cuisine is what makes this country so attractive. From architecture to fashion, from pop music to food culture, multiculturalism offers endless inspiration and valuable insights for us to create, solve problems, and navigate through contemporary life.
Having been born in an era that really recognizes the significance and transformative power of multiculturalism, wouldn't it be cool for us to time travel a little bit and discover the charms of one of the very first empires that really embraces cultural diversity?
And we are talking about the Persian Empire.
So what makes these pieces in the exhibit so multicultural?
In fact, because of the location of Afghanistan, you can really tell that it's in the middle of everything, and so that you have influences from Greece, from Rome. You can see a lot of Greek gods and goddesses. We also have a lot of nomadic influences.
Wow, now that is a lot of cultures. But these ancient artifacts were found from a lot of different sites of Afghanistan. Can you walk us through that?
So the exhibition really is a manifestation of ancient Afghanistan as a cultural crossroads in the ancient world. We have 4 archaeological sites, and they're all located in the northeast of Afghanistan. The first of which is Tepe Folo, and it is our oldest site with artifacts dating back to 4,000 years ago, which is the Bronze Age of Afghanistan. So one of the signature artifacts is a golden bowl, and it's actually a fragment. And on the golden bowl, we can find a bearded bull, and that motif is actually commonly found in ancient Mesopotamia. Second site is Ayhanam. It's a Greek city with a lot of Greek elements, such as the architecture and a very typical Greek city that was established after the death of Alexander the Great. And the third site is Tilia Tepe, and which we believe is a nomadic burial, but we're not very sure of the identity of these buried individuals. It has a lot of different influences, and you can sometimes see that in one single object there is different cultural elements. And one really interesting thing is that it did incorporate local cultures. For instance, we have a collapse of Cupid riding a dolphin, and but when you look at it, you actually cannot tell that it's Cupid because it's lost its wings that you can typically see, and it's sitting apparently on a dolphin, but you can see it actually looks like a fish, and that is because the local craftsmen they haven't seen a dolphin before. They have their imagination and from local rivers, and it later became like a catfish. And the last site is Bagram. It has a large range of artifacts, and my favorite is the ivory carvings because it's really pretty, and you can see Indian influences as well as some Greek influences in it as well. In Bagram, we also have a lot of Greco-Roman statues, and as well as Roman glass, but at the same time it also has a lot of local elements because we can find that the chemical components is indeed Roman glass.
Right.
However, the shape of it, right, you cannot find that the similarity in Roman glass.
The priceless artifacts had been stored inside the vaults of the presidential palace during the Civil War period, and they were only rediscovered in 2003 after the fall of the Taliban.
Now, I also saw some really amazing engraved pieces in the exhibit. Can you tell me which one do you think is the most unique piece?
For me, it's those that are with symbols. In the Ayhanam, one of the stele has a very interesting Greek wise words in it. As a child, learn good manners. As a young man, learn to control thy passions. In middle age, be just. In old age, give good advice. Then die without regrets.
Those are some very wise words indeed. Now, aside from the engraved pieces, I also saw some really cool pieces that had a lavish use of gold. Which one do you think is the most impressive?
For me, my favorite has to be the golden belt. When you look closely, you can actually see a figure sitting on a lion. In fact, we have some theories as to who this person is. For one, it could be a Greek wine god named Dionysus because it has a little cup called Candaros that it has on the back of the belt.
Right.
And for that, we theorize that it could be Dionysus. However, when you look a little bit closer, you can actually see the hairstyle of the figure on the plaque, and it's actually quite feminine. It has got its aesthetic value, and it's got its own academic background to it.
Wow, so many details we can really look into.
History is not merely some stories to read, but also a mirror that helps us to reflect and learn. When one knows better, we can too do better.
Even though I was born and raised in Canada, I consider myself to be quite influenced by Asian values that permeated every corner of my daily life. For example, when it comes to entertainment, I'd always go for kung fu movies made in Hong Kong back in the 60s or 70s. Those were my all-time favorite. Watching action movies doesn't just get the adrenaline pumping, but when I was little, when I watched them, I've always wanted to be a powerful, heroic character. But just like most things, there's no shortcuts when it comes to success in the martial arts. So today, I'm going to catch up with my Sifu and learn from the basics.
Known as the cradle of Southern Chinese Kung Fu, Foshan is a place where all the martial arts lovers should know about. As a descendant of Wing Chun master Tang Yi, Michael Tang is here to teach us a thing or two about Wing Chun, a Kung Fu originated in Foshan.
Wing Chun itself is a self-defense fighting technique, and typically for smaller South Chinese to counter-attack often bigger, taller, and stronger attackers. We will not do long and tedious fighting. We just try to finish it as quick as we can.
Hi Sifu, could you tell us the basics of Wing Chun?
Okay, Wing Chun itself, we have certain fundamental. The very fundamental form is called the Wing Chun Chun.
Okay.
Right? The Wing Chun Chun consists of 11 sets of fundamental movements. The form itself, we center much on center punches.
Okay.
We call the kind of like serial punches. And as different to some of the common understanding where if you want to do a straight punch, it's more efficient and faster. But then when we look at nature itself, the body structure itself, if you punch straight, now the application of force is not as good as when you spiral the hand. So when we do a punch, we would do a circular punches like that.
Yeah.
Right? What we cannot do is just to rely on a punch to lock down somebody.
Right.
So we use a lot of time the 标指, our fingers,
Right.
and also we use kind of like a fairness punch, just a fairness eye. Apart from the hand form, our footwork is kind of like narrow stance. It's just at the shoulder width, because we do not want to have the very long footwork,
Right.
which reduce, although the punching power is strong, but then it reduces your mobility. And what we call is a triangular footwork, from side to center. So we try to move away from the line of attack and edge onto our attacker, and trying to lock him down
Right.
with one or two lethal attacks.
Right.
And that's how we do it.
Wow, Sifu, now we see this wooden training dummy quite a lot in martial
Right.
arts movies. It's actually my first time seeing it up close. Now, how does one go about training with the wooden dummy like this?
The wooden dummy training is a very important part of the Wing Chun curriculum. The dummy is to train your hitting power,
Right.
and also kind of like movement, footwork movement around your opponent or your attacker. Because for us, because it's a close distance movement,
Yes.
we always use our arm to control. And we call this the 二度手, the second level hand.
Right.
So this is always a blocking, it's a control, and sometimes we roll in to subdue the opponent.
Now, this is used to like mimic like your opponent. So this must be the fist. What is this one here?
Now this
Down here.
represents 3 different punches. Now this one is a mid-level punch at this level,
Okay.
right? And this one represents your normal arm,
Oh, just up
your
here.
normal kill. We call it kill, the bridge,
Right.
at this level.
Now, if I want to like challenge myself, how would we go about doing pole training?
Pole training itself, the pole, have to rely very much on the body structure,
Okay.
right? And because we hold the pole on one end only, So unless we have a strong body structure, otherwise we'll hurt ourselves. The pose I'll call 6點半. Okay, the pose 6點半 got only seven fundamental movements. One of it is a transitional. The other 6 are attack. The transitional is called Chun. It's like a half ellipse.
Right.
And then a C, just like you tear off a piece of paper.
Right.
And Chun. Chun is the pose from bottom up with a quick movement.
Right.
Tan is a hit from top down. God is a long C. So the pose is up and down. And the Chun is just like a punch. It's long, the footwork down. But then for us, the Chun itself is really only for training the power. 6點半 itself, the very much principle is mobility. And my Sifu has a nickname called the Mad Bee. So he fly around and sting as he like.
To let Chinese martial art thrive in our contemporary world, not only do we need the dedication of the Sifus and Kung Fu enthusiasts, but we also need a lot of support from the public. So, are you ready to take up the torch and train your body at the same time? This iconic building that carries the Victorian architectural style was a Marine Police headquarters, and is surely no stranger to many locals of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is filled with both the old and the new, but it's becoming increasingly harder to find colonial architecture these days, especially those that offer nostalgic charm.
Right, so let's discover this historic site and discover how the magic of architecture has turned this place into a fashionable and leisure destination.
Located in one of the busiest districts of Hong Kong, the interior of this historic site is adorned with vintage lightings, fans, as well as tableware, retaining a unique colonial flair. Such a calming ambience has created an impressive contrast to the outside world. What a perfect spot for a little getaway. There's so much to love about this place, Lena. I think I could sit here all afternoon, enjoying the view, learning history and admiring the place.
I agree, but you know, I think an afternoon here is not enough for me to really make a connection with the bygone era. I think a short staycation would be a better idea.
A staycation would be even more memorable when you can spend time in a place that carries a delicate balance between revitalization and respect for heritage. Featuring stylish all-white walls, wooden furniture, and wood paneling, this room retained the beauty of the colonial style while showcasing a modern finish. By preserving the original fireplace of this historic site, a vibrant colonial flair is added to the graceful layout. And a private balcony welcomes you to a fascinating cityscape of Hong Kong. have for this week's episode. If you want to find out more about what we have introduced, remember to log on to our website. In the coming weeks, let us celebrate the season of love together. Besides relish a romantic dining experience, we will also give you unique gift ideas that will make your loved one remember.